Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. We are excited you have decided to join us today.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Elevate Podcast. We are so glad that you are here today. I wanted to share just something. I know business is complex and life is complex, and sometimes what we do is we just try and grab at whatever we see working. You know, you look at, this is how fads happen and trends and things like this, right? We just jump in and we go, oh, well, hey, Tony's got an amazing t-shirt company. And so I see that he's doing really well. I'm going to start making my own t-shirts. It's going to be awesome. And so I wanted to chat today about that problem and about how really what we're doing in that is we are stepping outside of our calling and trying to live in someone else's calling, and we are not doing what we are supposed to be doing. So I'm going to open the floor to you guys, Tony and Mike,
Awesome.
And just collect your thoughts on what you think about that. And
thanks, Robert. And just if you're just tuning in, just maybe this is your first time listening, that was Robert Kalin, and I am Tony Frasconi, and this is Mike Newman right here on the Elevate Podcast. Everybody.
That's right.
Thanks for that intro. Really I really love how you teed up what we're going to be talking about before the intro.
That's right. We just flipped it on its head, you know, like we're doing with this context of this conversation today. We're flipping it on its head. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what do you think, Mike? Let's start with you. I mean, you are the senior one here.
Yeah, I've been in many situations where I've tried to do the things somebody else is doing as a way to make money and make money fast, and sometimes we get caught in that. And Robert, you we're just down in South Africa and able to see some of the disparity that happens all over the world, and in the United States and in our area as well, where you have people who are doing really a great job and making money, and other people that are really struggling. Yeah. And so when you were sharing the story a little bit about that, about how some people see somebody being successful in one thing, and then you step into it and you realize, wow, this doesn't fit me. Mm-hmm. But I've already committed to it, so I'll just keep going down this road. And, when I was thinking about it, I recall that a person had shared about they were in a job they didn't like, and so they applied for another job, and because of their experience in the job they didn't like, they got another job they didn't like.
Yes.
And so after 4 years, they had 4 years of experience in work they didn't like to do, that was outside of their area of expertise, but they didn't know how to share what it was that they needed to be able to do, and what they liked to do, and what they could do well, and what their gift teams were. Yeah. Because God gave us all different gifts. Yeah. And so, I thought about that as we were starting this podcast, about how many times have we taken a job because the dollars were there, and we hated every minute of that job, or there were a lot of it that we didn't like, when we could see something else that maybe didn't pay as well, but maybe we would get more satisfaction and fulfillment from.
Yeah, I can think even in my own life, working at Microsoft. Mike, we just did, for those of you guys who may not know, Mike's done certified as a 6 types of working genius, and we just did an assessment with myself where tenacity is very low for me. And I'm working in an engineering firm that requires reports and tenacity like you wouldn't believe. And I'm sitting there just feeling like, man, there's lots of aspects about my job that I love, but I am terrible at doing this. And it sucks the joy and the life out of everything I do if I have to do another report. You know?
And so when you look at the 6 working geniuses that we were talking about, there's a genius of work really falls into 3 distinct areas. So if you have the ideation, the ideas that happen, and so a person might have wonder or invention as part of those, and then it moves into activation, where you're activating the ideas, and that's a area of discernment and galvanizing, where people are asking questions, is this the right thing to do? And once that decision's made, then somebody's getting behind it, getting the energy behind it. And then the last phase of that is in the area of implementation. And so oftentimes we go from ideas to implementation and we miss the things in between. And so there's some real famous companies that have some really bad products that they have a stock room full of them, or maybe they've shipped them off somewhere else, but because they didn't have anybody in the middle discerning it. We created a great-looking tennis shoe that's orange and pink and green, and nobody buys it. So nobody in that company looked at the middle part of that. So all of us fall into two of these areas of our genius. Two are areas of frustration, and two are areas of competency. So when Robert's talking about tenacity, that's an area where his working genius isn't. That's a frustration for him. And if you live inside the frustration area too long, all jobs are 6 jobs or 6 types of working genius in it. But if the most of your time is spent in your area of frustration, you're going to become a very disgruntled employee, and you're going to be grouchy and not easy to get along with. Whereas if you're in your area of genius, you're working in the things that bring you joy and energy. And so if you're trying to decide, as you're just listening to this short little explanation, where's mine? It's what brings you joy and what gives you energy. And one person said here the other day when I was going through the certification thing, said that, can you do this when you're tired? And if you can do a good job of when you're tired, that's probably in your working genius. It's not just that you just can power through a lot of things because you got good willpower.
Yeah.
I just want to say, this might be contrary to all the trainings that you guys have done, but I think I'm a genius in every one of them. I don't think I fall into those 2 and 2. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know, but I am an idea man. I'm tenacious as heck as well. I am a grinder. I'm a thoughtful guy.
You are talking like every single entrepreneur who has ever lived.
Am I a sociopath? Because I think no, I'm just kidding.
No, the reality is when you're a solopreneur, you're doing all of it.
Right. You have to try to get better. I guess right. There's these areas that we're not as good in, and we want to find work that aligns with the things that we are good in, but we're always going to be pushed, and there's always going to be things that we have to do that might be in that area of tenacity that might be we're just lacking in, and there are areas. So we're trying to grow, right?
Right, we're trying to grow, but you should be trying to grow in your areas of strength, not in your areas of where you have frustration. You should bring people around you.
So double down on the strengths.
Double down on the strengths and bring people around you that are in those areas of frustration. If you're a solo entrepreneur, that's difficult to do, but you could contract out some of those things. And so like Robert's saying, I'm not tenacious in some things. Well, it might be that he needs somebody that's actually going to make sure the bills are getting paid on time, and that payroll happens, and all the checks and balances are in place. Whereas, you might be being an idea guy and tenacious. That is a style. That you got great ideas and you got great execution. And so in those areas, some of them, it's not a scoring system, it's a ranking system about what if you favor the most in those, and what, as I was saying earlier, what gives you joy and energy from it. When I took the assessment, I thought, I'm pretty good in all but one of these. And then when it comes back, I go, that's exactly me. Yeah. And I think that's what we all find out when we do these different types of assessment. But the working genius is about a productivity model. Yeah. It's not a personality thing. It's about where do you get the most work done yourself, and where can you leverage the most out of your team.
I love it. Now, Robert, I do want to just take a moment. Those of you just tuning in, Robert went on this great trip recently to South Africa. We're going to hear more about it. He's got so many stories to share with us. But one of the things he mentioned was this great disparity, and Mike, you alluded to it as well, as even here locally, right? We've got disparities of wealth and extreme poverty, and people doing great. And if you are listening and you're in poverty, and you are somebody that's you don't want to have a poverty mindset, and you're trying to raise above it, and you're doing everything you can, when we think of calling, and you're somebody who's you're trying to get out of ending some maybe generational poverty that you're in, and you're trying to move through it. Talk a little bit about what that means for you, especially since you just coming from there, and that's what triggered this for you anyway.
Yeah.
This thought.
So it's a great question. I think it's such a complex issue that putting a label on it is not doing it justice. However, to put it into some type of context that we can understand, when you are in poverty, you are in survival mode. You are doing anything that you can to try and scrape by and make things happen, which means a lot of times we take jobs that aren't in our calling because, you know what, it's some money. Or we do things out of desperation that we wouldn't have done, right? And so the first thing, and this goes back to the last episode of our attitude, the first thing to do is to have a healthy mindset around it. You have everything that you need right now. Just pause for a second. If you're feeling like you're in survival mode, pause for a second and really think through, I've got everything I need right this second. Okay? Stepping into my calling and what I'm good at, really, really diving into the personal growth. What can I learn from the situation that I'm in so that I can take the next right step? Because like Mike said earlier, you're in the one job that you hate. And because you've had that experience of being in the job you hate, you'd go get another job that you hate because you've been in it. And that's what you know. And so pause, listen to a podcast like this, read a book, get something outside of yourself that can help you kind of expand what you're thinking right now.
Right. So get curious about your gifts. And if you are doing something right now to survive, if you are aware of your giftings and talents, if you lean into those, even though you might not be able to go take a genius test right now, but you just have been told certain things throughout your life that you've noticed things that you're just good at naturally. If you pursue some of those things, you probably have a greater chance at finding success to then not just go into the mundane and go into another thing that's outside your calling, but maybe you can inch towards leaning into jobs that are towards your calling.
100%. And I think once you start realizing that everything's a learning opportunity, the job that you're in right now has prepared you for that next thing.
Prepared you for the next one.
Yeah.
We talked about that a couple of episodes back about what happens in your life is preparing you for whatever the next thing is. And you may not be able to see it, but later on you'll go, oh, that was why that happened, and how those things I was able to use these skills to help me in this next piece. Yeah. You know, when I talk about the 6 working geniuses, and it's Patrick Lencioni's work, he's also the guy that has the best-selling book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and this was created out of his frustration during the COVID time of just realizing that his attitude was different. Back to our attitude, and his attitude was different working with one group of people because of what he had to do for them, with them, and working with another group. And what he realized is when he was working with the group where he felt energized and happy was the type of work where he was helping create and solve problems, or not create problems, but solve problems and creating solutions.
Yes. Yeah. Well, every solution creates a new problem.
Whereas the other was trying to fit things into a box that didn't allow for his creativity to show through. And so all of us have these different giftings, and some may have higher giftings than others in areas. That's the way we're wired, that's the way we're created. And so this, when we talk about your calling, is sometimes we say, well, what is my calling in life? And maybe we need to say, what is my calling in this season of my life? Because
that's good right there. That's
because
gold.
You have an experience that you're going through right now that's preparing you for the next experience you're going to go through. And so I was just working with a guy this last week and talking with him about some difficult personnel issues that he's having to deal with. And this is the first time as a young leader in dealing with some difficult personnel issues. And what I told him was, this isn't going to be easy. So, but the next time, because there will be a next time, you'll be able to reflect back and go, oh yeah, this is where it went well. This is where I messed up. This is what I need to do to make that work better this time. And whether it's a personnel issue or whether it's a family issue or anything else, they come dressed up in different clothes to us, but they are going to reappear again, and your experience that you have is going to carry you through for the next one.
Yeah, so good.
Quick story on that, just to piggyback off of Mike's example. When at my first year as an assistant principal, okay, way back a long time ago in another life, I'm still a recovering principal and assistant principal, everybody. Okay, but no, as an assistant principal, first discipline matter I had to deal with at a middle school. I had these two boys got in a fight in the quad. So they come up, they're in the office, sitting right outside my office. I call both of their parents, and these boys, they were pretty good friends, you know. I'd seen them out in the quad hanging out and stuff, so I knew they knew each other. I just thought, okay, this is. I'm not going to really talk to them individually and all that. Let's just get this thing settled. So their parents get there. So I said, everybody come on in my office. I get both the boys who just fought and these two mothers in my office. And anyway, you can imagine what happened next. I had the two moms pretty much going to blows, getting in a fight, the two boys yelling and using a lot of profanity. Just so the principal came and knocked on my door, said, "Tony, is everything okay in there?" And so I think I learned a lot of lessons in that one moment. But I had to. We've said this before. I had to be bad at something to get good at it.
Yeah.
I had to take a step. I had to fail. We're all afraid of failure.
Yep.
We never want to fail. But ultimately, that experience led to me becoming a principal, which led to going and doing HR work, which led to me pursuing this leadership journey that I'm on, and ultimately here on this podcast. So, I mean, we really can go back and look at every experience that we go through. And as long as we have that attitude and that growth mindset, and we keep pushing, we're going to do it.
It's
and
good,
you're going to do it. If you're listening, you can do it.
You can.
Okay?
Step into your calling. That's the
right.
invitation today. If there's something outside of your calling that you're doing, learn from it. Why is it outside your calling? And what does it look like to take that next step toward what you're called to do? It doesn't always happen overnight. It's not always instant. And so just enjoy the process in the journey. You know, your story of going from one job to the next didn't happen instantly. And so, you guys, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what's happening in the lives of people right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's coming up next? We've got some good stuff coming up next. I just want to give them a little teaser.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to talk about greed versus generosity.
Whoa, that's deep.
Yeah, it'll be different.
That is compelling, rich, and deep.
Like, subscribe.
Like, subscribe, and share, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see
Robert, Tony, Mike, we are out.
See you on the next one, guys. Take care.
Thanks for joining us today on the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. For a deeper dive into the content and to get access to resources like our free show notes, go to countercultureleaders.com/podcast and sign up for our newsletter. Hey, don't forget to like, rate, and review, and subscribe, and share this content with your friends and colleagues. This is Mike Newman. Looking forward to seeing you next week.